Welcome to the Tepper School of Business Multimedia Series. For more information on the Tepper School at Carnegie Mellon, please visit us at www.tepper.cmu.edu/multimedia. And now, here's your selected video.
On behalf of the Tepper School of Business, the Marketing Club, the Operations Management Club, and the Black Business Association, we're delighted to have Mr. Eric Butler here today. Mr. Butler is the Executive Vice President of Marketing and Sales at Union Pacific. He's also a double Carnegie Mellon alum. He loves Carnegie Mellon so much he actually graduated from here twice. The first time was in 1981 when he received a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and the second time he returned in 1986 to earn a master's in industrial administration. A few of us actually had the chance to talk to Mr. Butler earlier today at a roundtable, and we can sense his passion for Carnegie Mellon and Union Pacific. Aside from his day job, Mr. Butler also partakes in some extracurricular activities. As if being an executive at a Fortune 500 company is not enough. He sits on the Tepper School of Business Alumni Board. He's also endowed a scholarship to the Tepper School of Business. And his company, Union Pacific, is a major employer of Carnegie Mellon students. Mr. Butler is also on the Executive Leadership Council and sits on the boards of the Omaha Children's Hospital, the Omaha Airport Authority, and the Freedom Network. In addition, Mr. Butler is also an ordained minister. He's also an accomplished musician. He claims he's going to play something for us later today. So. Very recently, he was also named one of Black Enterprise's most powerful execs in corporate America. There are a lot more things I can say about our speaker today, but without further delay, I'd like to introduce Mr. Kwame Eric Butler. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, Kofi is from Ghana, and I have connections and relationships to Ghana. I've had the privilege of traveling to that wonderful country a couple of times. And so based on the day of the week that I was born, my name should be Kwame. So that's why he introduced me as Kwame. I'm glad to be here today. I'm glad to have our dean with us here today and our other colleagues from Union Pacific. I want to do a couple of things today. I am an officer of the company, so while we want to see all of you at our session this afternoon, we know some of you won't be there, so I want to take about 7 minutes and just tell you a little bit about Union Pacific, and then I want to talk about what I really want to talk about today. I was told by all of those attorneys and others to make sure that you know that the views that I'm expressing today are those of my own and not those of Union Pacific. So let me tell you a little bit about Union Pacific. We have a great company. Please come to our session tonight if you are free and have the time available. We believe we are the oldest listed company continuously listed company on the New York Stock Exchange. We have the privilege of being created by a president, President Lincoln. This year, we are celebrating our 150th year anniversary. President Lincoln signed us into existence with the Pacific Railway Act on July 3rd, 1862. President Lincoln, in the midst of an immense series of challenges and an immense crisis in terms of an unfolding civil war, he still had enough vision to understand that a transportation system linking the East to the West was critical to the future of the country. And so we're proud to celebrate 150 years. A bunch of us have 150-year pins on today. If you want a 150-year pin that you could use when you interview with all of those other companies, you could see Blake Young. He'll give them to you for free. So we're excited about our history of our company. We believe we're building America. We believe transportation systems are critical to building America. You can see today's Union Pacific, we're predominantly a railroad west of the Mississippi. We love our franchise in terms of access to all of the East Coast ports, the West Coast ports. We have 6 interchange rail ports with Mexico, multiple interchange rail ports, rail connections with Canada. We hit all of the major population centers in the West. In fact, A large number of the major population cities and centers in the West were actually founded by the railroad. They were originally rail stops. And then with our Eastern Rail connection carriers, which about 40% of our business involves another railroad, we basically cover the entire United States and North America. You could see some of our statistics in terms of our revenue last year, $19 billion. We have a diverse set of markets and businesses that we operate in. I appreciate the students that I had a chance to talk to before in terms of the roundtable. I think every one of the companies that those students worked for previously are a customer of ours, so we do cover the breadth and width of the U.S. We're excited about the markets that we're in. We're in the Pacific Northwest, the lumber markets. We deal with agricultural markets, the growing areas of potatoes. If you look at French fries from McDonald's, most of the French fries from McDonald's are grown, produced, processed by J.R. Simplot, who's a large customer of ours. Our auto industry, we are the largest auto rail carrier in the country, larger than any other entity, rail or truck. We have business relationships with the domestic three, Toyota. We have small relationships with Honda and Hyundai, but we have about 75% of the market share of automobiles that move in this country. Chances are every car that anybody in this room drives, unless you bought your car on a coast, like on the West Coast or the East Coast, chances are we had a role in moving it. If you look at electricity, still this, and this is not a political statement, but still today about 40% of the electricity in this country is generated by coal, even with record low natural gas prices. And we'll talk about that at our session later today, but 40% is still generated by coal, and coal is critical to our future. Even the most strident environmentalists who don't support coal in any forum would recognize that coal is still a critical part of meeting the electrical generating needs of this country for the foreseeable future. So that's a large part of our business. We also are part in renewables, both ethanol and windmills. So I'm excited about our future. We hit all of the population growth. We have relatively population growth centers. We have relatively weak markets today, but they're going up. Energy demand is an exciting opportunity for us in terms of the shale play. I'm whetting your appetite. Come back and listen to us this afternoon. You'll hear more about that. International trade, about 40% of our business is international, and we're excited about continuing to move business from the filled highways to rail. So come back this afternoon and we'll talk to you more about it. So today, I really want to talk to you about three things, and then open it up for question and answer. And so can I be myself today? That's nervous laughter. So I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about opportunities. I want to talk about obligations, and where are you? So can you say that with me? Opportunities, obligations, and then I have a question at the end. Where are you? So if you look at my background, and I appreciate Kofi, the introduction, I have a great background. I was born and raised in New York City, grew up on the inner cities of New York City, went to public schools. For those of you that are familiar with New York, I grew up in Bed-Stuy. Everybody said, Bed-Stuy, Bed-Stuy. And so I was one of the fortunate ones with a lot of the guys I grew up with. A bunch of the other unfortunate ones found themselves in prison, found themselves strung out on drugs, including relatives, close relatives of mine, including siblings. But I was one of the fortunate ones. And just so you know, I have a couple of points here, and instead of me walking back and forth with this, I'm gonna refer to this over here because I have a couple of things I want to make sure that I don't forget to tell you. But as I look back, I was fortunate because I had great parents who said, huge expectations for us. They basically told us that you can do and accomplish anything you set your mind to do. And they said you should never allow anyone to limit you on what you want to set your mind to do. And wherever you go, whatever you do, and I told this to the group I was talking to just before this, my mother always said, wherever you go, whatever you do, make sure you do something to improve that place so that when you're done with it, it's better than the way you found it. So whether it's a job, whether it's school, whether it's a social service organization, whether it's a community organization, you should have an impact so that it's better when you leave than when you came. So, you know, I was a kid, did all the things that kids do growing up in the inner cities. And I thought I wanted to be an engineer, but I had no idea what an engineer was. And I was fortunate enough that Carnegie Mellon at that time had a program called the CMAP program and Carnegie Mellon Action Project. And they went out to neighborhoods, they went out to cities, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, Cleveland, and they went to inner city schools and they tried to give students who had interest and potential an idea of opportunities in engineering. So Carnegie Mellon Action Project had a wonderful salesperson named, I think his name was Mel Davis, I think. And he came to my high school and had never heard of Carnegie Mellon, and he did such a wonderful job. I applied, and fortunately enough, I got in. I will forever be grateful to this school because I recognize that this school didn't just give me skills, which they did. This school didn't just give me training, which it did, but the school gave me a perspective of things in the world that I, growing up, where I grew up in, I never had any perspective of. I had a very narrow understanding of what the world could be. And this school, both undergraduate and graduate, immensely broadened my perspective. So I'm going somewhere with this. So I recognize that I've had wonderful opportunities. I had this school, which gave me wonderful opportunities. I had mentors and advisors that gave me wonderful opportunities. I recognize that for many places in my life, I was clueless. I thought I understood things that I really didn't understand, but there were people who took the time to step in and give me a broader, different, better perspective so that I would be a little less clueless. So, as I look back on me, I recognize clearly that while I might think I'm smart, while I might think I'm doing a good job, I didn't do this by myself. There were a bunch of people that did a lot of things for me, both giving me perspective, giving me advice, giving me counsel, giving me input that helped me get to where I am today. So I'm going to challenge you guys. I think, unfortunately, it was clear for me because of my background, okay? I grew up in the hood, okay? I'm just telling you, I go back there now, it's the hood, all right? So I understood the opportunities that I was given. I think sometimes people who didn't have my experience don't understand the opportunities that you are given. You probably don't even appreciate the opportunities that you have been given. The opportunities in terms of the schooling that you've had, the advice that you've been given, the financial support that you've been given, the doors that have been opened for you. I think it's almost so normal, sometimes we don't appreciate the value of even being able to get into this school. We don't appreciate the value of those opportunities. You don't appreciate the value, your upbringing, your elementary school education, the supporters that you have, the value that it's done for you. I was sharing with the group before, my wife and I have been blessed in these last few years to do a fair amount of international traveling. And every time I come through immigration and customs, landing back in the US, I say, God bless America. Because the places that I've gone, the places that I've been, I look at what we have and how it compares to what others don't have. And we are fortunate. We are blessed. So I want to challenge you today. Look at the person sitting next to you and say, he's going to challenge me today. Come on, look at the person and say, he's going to challenge me today. To whom much is given, much is required. That's a proverb in many cultures. It's also a scripture in the Bible. Kofi did say I was a minister, so to whom much is given, much is required. So my first point is, all of us have had tremendous opportunities. I want you to understand that. Things you probably don't really think about it in that way, but your background, upbringing, support, tremendous opportunities. And for everyone who has been given an opportunity, much is required. So because of these opportunities, we have obligations. Can y'all say that with me, obligations? Y'all saying that nervously. Say obligations. Obligations. And I'm not talking about tax obligations either. So here are your obligations. Number one, you have an obligation to do your best. When you leave this school, you are going to be a leader of a team, a leader of an organization, even if it's a 3-person team in a clerical organization, and you have an obligation. Leaders have obligations for organizations, obligations for communities, obligations for society. The fact that I've been fortunate to be given the responsibility to run our commercial organization, 20 billion in organization, we have 10,000 customers. If our company's not doing our job, if Jeff Todesek, who's our controller, or Joe Connor, who's our the head of our supply chain organization, if we're not doing our job, we could shut down America. I'm not exaggerating. We could shut down America. We could shut down utility plants. We came close to doing that about 7 years ago. That is not pleasant when you have the president and governors calling you. That doesn't feel good, all right? We have obligations. You have obligations to society. You have obligations to the communities that you are in. You will be the adults. I talked about that before. Adults simply means you're making the decisions. So you're going to be leaders responsible for making the decisions, whether they're popular or not, whether people like them or not, and whether people are watching you or not, all right? So number one, we have the obligation to do our best, obligation to make the right decisions. Number two, we have the obligation to do succession planning. All right, what does succession planning mean? It means protecting your interests for the future. Okay, so what does that mean? Protecting your interests for the future simply means that if you look at the society coming behind you, you look at those coming behind you, you want them to be as successful as they can be, because they're the ones that are going to protect your life the way you are thinking about it and thinking to have it. I'm getting very close to being able to draw a pension, hallelujah. I'm very focused on recruiting, right? I'm very focused on the quality of people that we have. I want somebody to take my job who's going to do my job 10 times better than I am, because I understand that I have the accountability or the obligation for society, protecting our interests for the future. You should want as many people as possible to have the highest likelihood of success in our society. Number three, we have an obligation to help other people like we have been helped. I always believe in sharing, talking, providing people feedback real time, whether they ask for it or not. And the reason why I do it, and sometimes people, they say thank you, and say not really, I wish you wouldn't have told me that, but the reason why I do it is I've had people in my career who whacked me upside the head, whether I was waiting for it or not, whether I wanted it or not, because I needed it. They said, here's what you're doing, here's what you need to be doing. You have professors in this school that are whacking you upside the head, whether you need it or not. And I think we need to have the obligation to do it for others. The last obligation we have is we have an obligation for our community, our region, and our country. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not going to talk about politics. I understand y'all had some previous speakers that talked about politics, all right? But we have an obligation for our community, our region, our country, okay? We have opportunities. I want you to embrace the obligations for the future. So I said all of that to finish up with this question about where are you? So you heard I'm a minister, so I hope you would give me just a little bit of leeway here for a few minutes and use a Bible story. Somebody say, okay. Y'all are really nervous now, really nervous. So y'all know the story of Adam and Eve, and you know the story of Adam and Eve and eating the forbidden fruit, and what we believe in our Judeo-Christian beliefs that brought sin into the world by eating the forbidden fruit. And after that happened, those of you that know the story in detail, you know that God said he was looking for Adam and Eve, and he asked Adam a question. He said, Adam, where are you? Okay? Now, the interesting thing is that God knew where Adam was. Adam was there in the garden, all right? And then our best Judeo-Christian beliefs, we believe God is all-seeing and God-knowing. So God kind of saw where they were. God knew what they did. But he asked them a question, where are you? So if you think about it, he wasn't really asking Adam that question from a geographical or physical standpoint because he knew where Adam was. He was asking Adam a question from a mindset. Adam, where are you? I know what you just did. Okay, I know what happened. But I need to understand, where are you? Where's your head? What's your intent? What's your focus? Now, give me a little bit of leeway. I'm going to get done here quickly. Adam responded to the Lord. Adam said, and his response is really interesting. He said, I heard your voice. In other words, he said, I heard you were coming. I heard you were around, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. So in essence, he was saying, I heard you were coming. I understood that I was going to have to deal with you. I understood I was going to have to give an answer for what I did. I understood that I would have to stand up for what I did, and I was afraid because I didn't feel like I had all of the capabilities, or I didn't feel like I was in the place to be able to do or respond or answer it, and I felt naked. And so therefore, I went off and hid because I knew I was going to be put on the spot, and I didn't feel sufficient. I didn't feel like I knew what I needed to do. So what am I saying? Where are you? Sometimes we don't have it all together. Sometimes we do things that don't work out well, don't work out right. Sometimes we do things that are absolutely horrible in hindsight and decisions that we regret in the future. But I still believe, no matter where we are kind of in our careers and in our lives and in our situations, we still have an unbelievably great opportunity and golden opportunity to go into the future. So I'm asking you, where are you? Where are we? Number one, in the preparation and development of ourselves for positions of greater authority and responsibility. Found the easiest thing in the world is to make excuses about why you can't, what's not available, or the limitations. But where are we in owning our preparation and responsibility? Fulfilling our potential requires work on ourselves and an investment in ourselves. Where are you? Where are we? And our support for each other. So support is not just encouraging each other that we can make it, but support is having the tough, honest conversations with each other, even in team settings, to help somebody say, you're not pulling your weight. You're not doing, because you doing that for each other in this environment will help each other be more successful in the world environment. Where are we? Where are you in support for the communities that we live and work in? As bad as we may think we have it, as bad as we may think the economy is, we still have it pretty good, particularly if you look at it in terms of a worldwide perspective. And finally, and this is probably the most important part from my standpoint, where are you? Where are we? And standing up for right, and standing up for justice, standing up to injustice. Complaining takes little strength. Everybody can complain about everything, but accepting responsibility to help change things requires courage. Justice is a term used for what is right or as it should be. It also means to practice what is right and what is just. Sometimes we look at it as just an academic notion, but justice is action and practice of what is right. So, as I'm finishing, just want to ask you, where are you? Are you at a place where, as long as your family, my family, is not impacted too much, we don't seem to care much? But are we at a place where we're willing to understand the opportunities and the obligations that we've had, and also understand the opportunities that we have and the obligations that we have for the future? So I'm going to challenge you with 4 things, and then I'm going to be done, open up for questions. Number 1, I'm going to ask you to challenge your vision, challenge your comparisons, challenge your sights. Don't just focus on how much money you can make. Don't just focus on what title you're going to get. Don't just focus on what signing bonus you're going to get. But compare yourself to say, am I improving that area? Am I improving that community? Am I improving that school? Am I improving that job? Am I improving that environment? Compare yourself to what is an unrelenting focus on excellence and saying, I'm not going to be a slave to excuses, but I'm going to focus on improving where I am. Number 2, I challenge you to unlearn fictitious limits. I've learned as an African American in this country that racism still exists. You don't like me saying that, but it does. Look at somebody say it does. Come on, say it does. Some of y'all don't accept that, but it does. All right, so let me help you because I'm getting frowns from people. All right. When I look like this, I have on a nice suit, I have on my nice cufflinks, my nice UP watch, people treat me a certain way. I don't look like this most of the time. Most of the time I wear jeans and a t-shirt, and I'm treated a different way. Jeff Todesek won't admit he's a millionaire, but I'll admit I'm a millionaire, okay? Several times over, right? I could put on, I like driving my pickup truck, that's just me. I get in my pickup truck, put on my jeans, put on my t-shirt, and I have just as good a chance as being arrested as, and I'm a multimillionaire, okay? So racism does exist. I know, I've been stopped. I've had guns pulled on me. I'm just helping you for the folks that are frowning at me, all right? But you know what? Do not be too respectful of what other people think about you. In essence, what other people think about you really shouldn't be a hindrance on what you are focused on doing. What other people feel about you shouldn't define your vision, your goals, or your limits. Your capability and quest for excellence should define that. Number 3, you should be okay with risk, be okay with taking chances. And number 4, focus on excellence. There's no substitute for excellence. You need to have a focus, like Hallmark said, a focus on caring to give your best. So I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna be done. Somebody asked me lessons that I have learned, and I have about a half a dozen lessons that I've learned. Number 1, you spend the majority of your waking hours at work or focus on work. If the environment doesn't fit you, it will kill you, okay? So when you leave this place and you look at places that you want to go work and places that you want to be, you need to make sure that environment fits you. Number 2, change is a constant. Those of you who are tired of change, you're gonna have ulcers, all right? Change is a constant. Number 3, you must believe in what you do. You have to have a mindset that the grass may be greener on the other side, but they still have to mow the grass, just like you have to mow your grass, right? You've got to believe in what you do, have a passion with what you do. Number 4, focus on the future. Where you want to be is a better exercise than focusing on where you are. There'll be enough people telling you about where you are, the problems about where you are. Where you want to be is a greater exercise. Number 5, people may doubt what you say, but they'll also look at and believe and listen to what you do. Number 6, management is about coping with complexity. Leadership is about recognizing and driving change and making change your friend. And our business world is becoming a lot more complex, a lot more competitive and volatile. It's unstable, and we need to understand that leadership is about driving and thriving in that complex, unstable world. And the last thing I want to say, and I'm quoting Jeff Immelt, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. He said, too often business is about wallets. He said, we focus on the wallets, we're good at doing that, but if you capture the hearts and minds of your customers, of your employees, of your team, your constituents, the wallets will follow. So if you don't listen to anything else that I said today, I would encourage you as you go forward in your careers to capture the hearts and the minds of the people that you impact. You will be leaders. You will be leaders of teams. You will be leaders of organizations. You'll be leaders of companies. You'll be leaders in your community. You'll be leaders for your customer. You'll be leaders for your industry. Capture the hearts and the minds. Focus on capturing that, and then the wallets will follow. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for listening to me. I like to talk, so thank you for bearing with me today, and I will open it up for questions that you might have for me. No questions. Oh.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is Jertez Hunter. I'm a second-year student here. I'm wondering about...
You signed up for the UP?
I'll be here this afternoon.
All right. Come on, high-five me. All right.
I was hoping you could talk a little bit about, you talked about capturing the hearts and minds at the end of your talk, and kind of the balance between the likability and having the influence on the organization, but also having to make the tough decisions and not really, you know, a decision that's not necessarily popular and well-liked. Can you talk about any time in your career that you had to balance that?
Yeah, that's a great question. You should never make decisions just out of popularity or decisions that you think you need to do to make people happy. My mother asked a coworker one time, she said, what do they say about me? And I didn't know she was asking him that. And they told her, they said, he's tough, but he's fair. I've learned that whenever you have tough situations you're needing to deal with, whether it's a new organization, new team that has some tough challenges, you need to deal with them head on, but you need to deal with them respectfully, openly, honestly, and fairly. And I have found people will appreciate you for that. One of the jobs I had earlier in my career, Jeff will remember this, I was in Omaha and had an opportunity to move to St. Louis to run about 100-person clerical organization that was part of our billing function. It was a union organization. I was the manager. I had 3 non-union assistant managers and about 110 union clerical persons. So very small management team. At the time I moved down there, they had one of the worst records. I mean, you name it. They had people pulling knives on each other. They had people alleging racial, gender, age complaints, all kind of discipline problems and everything else. And frankly, I was scared to death because I was like 2 years into my job, 3 years into my career, and I said, okay, this is going to be a flaming failure right here. But when I went in there, I basically said I was going to treat everybody with respect, give everybody a chance. But if people were not fulfilling the expectations, you know, I'm not going to tolerate that. We're here for work. We're here for excellence. We're here for a certain set of expectations. I'm going to treat everybody fairly, but I'm going to demand that you live up to that. And if you don't, then I'm going to make the decision that I have to make. And it's been that kind of an approach that I think if you take that approach, respectful, fair, set the expectations, and then if people don't meet the expectations, people will be surprised with how many people I've fired. And just about everybody I fired, they knew and kind of understood they were going to be fired before they got fired. And they kind of said, okay, yeah, thank you. Because you set the expectations, you treat them fairly, you give them a chance, but you do what you need to do to run the business. So that's the way I would say you deal with that. And I think that's the respectful way of dealing with it, letting people know where they stand and going on from there. Jeff is our controller of our accounting department, and he claims it's a much safer organization. I don't know. It's kind of dangerous when I go down there. All right. Yes. Other questions? There were a couple of, yes. Have you signed up with UP?
I will. So my name is Michael. I'm a second year here as well. Thanks for being here. And you touched a little bit on this, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how mentors affected your career, or how you picked those out, or like people just to inspire you, like even today.
Okay, that's a good question. Mentors are different than sponsors, okay? Sponsors are people that you never really, most of the time you don't really know, but they're people who have watched what you do, and they have observed and they've seen some value and expectations about what you can do, and behind closed doors, they're advocating for you. The reason why I mention sponsors is because in the business world, every interaction counts. A lot of people think, you know, you only have to be on at certain times. If I'm going to a networking event, or if I'm, you know, going to meet the president, every interaction counts. Just like when you're dealing with customers, every interaction counts. So it's important to kind of treat everybody certain ways and manage yourself. So that's a sponsor. And I've had great sponsors that I didn't know were sponsors until way further down the line. Mentors are those people that will tell you about you, whether you like it or not. See, people get confused. They think a mentor is somebody that will watch out for them and open doors for them. Those are sponsors. Most of the time, you don't know about, okay? but they've seen something or they've heard something about you where they're advocating for you. Mentors are the people that will take you to lunch, take you to breakfast, take you to a cup of a milkshake, and they'll say, you are messing up. Here's what you did, here's what you should do. You know, here, you may want to think about doing this a little bit differently. Hey, this is coming up, you need to treat this good. Hey, guess what? Work starts at 8, but everybody else in your department is there by 7 or 7:15. So when you come strolling in at 5 to 8, you stand out in the wrong way, okay? That's what mentors will do. So I think the best way to get mentors is to show yourself open and willing to receive feedback. I think too often people are afraid to give people feedback because they're afraid how they're going to take it. And in a litigious society like we have today, I think it's even a bigger barrier to feedback because you're never quite sure how somebody's going to react, right? As somebody who's been sued and deposed, you know, you always kind of have this framework in your mind. How is somebody really going to react to what you think they need to hear? So showing yourself open, willing to receive and hear the feedback that you are being given, kind of hear beyond the words and hear, you know, the nuggets of what's being saying, I think you'll find many more people willing to share with you, more people want to take you under their arm and say, hey, you know, here's what you need to do. Hey, you should probably do this, you should probably do that. And you'll find lots of doors opening for you. And some of those mentors will advocate to sponsors and you won't even know that it's happening. Did I answer your question? All right. Yes. Now tell me, you signed up with UP.
I interviewed, so I hope so.
All right, yes. Blake, did you interview with her?
No, with Marcia.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
My name's Amanda Zook. I'm a first year, and I was curious, what keeps you excited and enthusiastic about your job? It seems like you really enjoy it. What's something that keeps you going?
You know, the group before me asked that. I'm a person of faith naturally, and so, you know, I just believe the future, and I think that we've all been given opportunities to be here on earth, and so we should be excited about that. But even beyond that, I have a great life, okay? I have a great job. I'm so crazy, I really am crazy. I told these guys some of the crazy things I've done, but I actually told our chairman one time, show you how crazy I am. I told him one time, they had just awarded the annual bonuses. I got a nice bonus, and so I said, thank you. And I said, you didn't even have to give this to me. So that's how crazy I am. I said, I enjoy my job so much, I would have done this without this. And I was telling the truth, Jeff, I did. So you have to enjoy what you're doing. I have a great job, got a great family, got a great wife of 27 or 28 years. I got to figure out which one it is. Don't tell I said that. 3 great kids. I got a fantastic grandson who I love tremendously. So I live in a great country. I mean, so, you know, there's no reason not to be excited. You can look at the world and look at all of the problems that you have, but then you can look at the world. All right, so I got to pick on Mr. Todesek. He's my friend here. He's going to get mad at me. So this is what we do inside our company. We have this psychotic cultural thing going on inside of our company. So we have stretch goals, and you know, you'll know what stretch goals are. You're trying to get higher levels, and so sometimes we fall short of our stretch goals. And so as we're falling short of our stretch goals, we have these daily reports and weekly reports that show all of the red. Mr. Todesek highlights in red where we are falling short of our goals. So everybody gets psychotic, we're falling short of goals. And then at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, Mr. Todesek comes out and he says, a record quarter! We're psychotic, right? So it really is kind of an example of how some people live. Some people live and say, you know, wanted to get all these things done, I wanted to do all this, wanted to accomplish all this, and I'm falling short. And you give yourself ulcers, you go crazy. Or you could say, you know, things are pretty good. I'm not getting where I want to go, but things are still pretty good. And it's a record quarter, right? So you got to have that mindset. Life is pretty good for us. And so that's just my perspective. Okay? Good question. Thank you. Yes.
I have a, okay, sure, yep. Hi, my name is John. I'm an MSCF first-year student, and thank you so much for your visionary speech. And I just have one simple question, like how would you interact, or how would you work with those people who have different values than you? Like, for example, you are a visionary person, you have a set of values, you focus on the long-term goals, you are considerate to the people who are sharing space with you, or the whole environment. But what if, just in some extreme, some people just focus on short-term goals, or they just focus on numbers? How would you work with them?
That's like
Yep.
you. That's a great question. Diversity is critical, and diversity is beyond just kind of racial, ethnic, gender, sexual preference, all the things that we talked about. Diversity really is understanding people come at things different ways. And so we all need to understand that if I have a hotshot MBA, couple years out of school, they probably have certain things that they're looking for out of the workplace, out of the career, that's different than a journeyman professional who's kind of been at their position, their level for 25 years, and they're going to be retiring in the next couple of years, and they're not looking for any upside potential. They probably have different things that they are looking for, and different values that they may have. So I think it's good to recognize and value the fact that people look at the world differently. I think the key for any leader is to take all of those differences and say, we value the differences, but we're trying to mold them into an outcome that we're trying to get to. So in a workplace context or in a business context, it's critical to kind of say, here's the outcome that we're trying to get to, and get everybody focused on that outcome. And then however people get there from their background and their preferences, you're okay with it, but you get everybody focused on the critical outcome that you're trying to get to. So you don't try to change people. I think in my first 2 years of my 27 or 28 years of marriage, I tried to change my wife, then I gave up, right? She probably did the same for me. So you don't try and change people, you accept them the way they are, but you kind of get everybody focused towards the outcome that you want to get to. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Moses Morgenstern. I'm a first-year MBA student. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to know, one of the main things that you always hear about great leaders is that they manage to form a very big team of very good individuals that contribute to any decision they make. I wanted to know any feedback that you may have of how do you ensemble these great teams around you, and what you look on every person that you put in the team?
Good question. I might have an answer that is a little bit less traditional. I've had jobs where I've been able to assemble a team of my choosing, and by doing that, you try to look for people who are going to do the things I've talked about: focus on excellence, understand kind of the value proposition, focus on driving change in a positive way, focus on being respectful and working with one another. All of those things that you look at in when you're hiring a team member. I've probably had more jobs where I didn't have a whole lot of flexibility at a point in time to change a team. I had to take an existing team and do the best we can, or improve with an existing team, or understand that a team only changes over time, a long period of time. And to me, those are the more interesting, exciting opportunities, because what you're really doing is you're trying to understand where somebody is coming from, understand what they're bringing to the party: skills, talents, beliefs, background, cultural perspectives in terms of their work, cultural perspectives, and you're trying to take that and mold that and set kind of future expectations and kind of line up where you need to go in the future. So I'll talk about my current assignment. So all the UP people close your ears so you don't go back and report on me, all right? But this current assignment, which is a great job, I am overseeing 6, 7 general managers that used to be my peers. Okay, they all run, call it $2 billion, $3 billion businesses. I was one of them that was running a $2, $3 billion business, and now I'm overseeing all of them. Several of them were candidates for the job that I have, and probably thought that they should have the job that I have. They probably think now they should have the job that I have, all right? So it wasn't for me to say I'm getting rid of all of them because all of them have immense value and they're right. It's for me to kind of say, okay, I understand kind of the disappointments and where people are. How am I going to mold everybody into a team going forward? And we've done a couple of very specific things to do that. And it's kind of exciting to me to see the evolution and kind of where we are and where we're going as a team. But you won't always have the opportunity to select new team members. I would dare say in most of your career, you'll probably have to deal with existing team members. So the challenge as a leader is to take who you have, what you have, and make it a much more high-performing team than what they were before. And that's almost exciting to me is, kind of hiring a bunch of new, exciting superstars. So, is that fair? Okay. Thank you.
I think that's it for all the questions now.